And for our final speaker this evening, I would like to introduce to you Ms. Movina Lazar. Ms. Lazar is a nationalist and an active member of the Assyrian Democratic Movement. Please join us in welcoming my dear friend Movina.
شلامة بني أمتي من جيبت زوء ديمقراطية آتورايا بين شكل أي برست قد أمر خييتون قمر خطانة آها خجرة أمتن لها ولدأتيد بلا خالت عليمة وهدخ عليمة مرضنة وبصورة وين هما شهويتن أمتناية كشيرة ولا شقيتن أبخى كالة جور خوخن وهل بين طلب بخلطة من ناخن بني أمتي سام زودة من همزمتي إلى بليشانة إنجلسناية سبب إتلاني أرخن أما نخراية وبين قد ما طنيشن الدنة أرخن هاويتن بسيمة رابا برين آتورايا خين آتورايا وبماثن آتورايا I was born an Assyrian, I lived as an Assyrian, and I will die as an Assyrian. Some of the final words of our great martyrs, Hubert, Yosip, and Yohanna, members of the Assyrian Democratic Movement that were executed by Saddam Hussein's Ba'ath regime in 1985. They were subjected to the worst forms of physical and psychological torture for months in Baghdad's infamous Abu Ghraib prison. They were asked to give the names of other Assyrian activists within our movement. They were asked to renounce their Assyrian identity, and they never gave in. كمت البغر مخيل زربيل بدمة لمصيل شقلي مني خاشمة. They endured the pain. They faced death without fear. They were hanged on February 3rd, 1985. All for the sake of their nation, all for the sake of Assyrians. When one of the ruling officers who was in charge of the execution had asked them for any final words, one of our martyrs had stated, as he stood above them with the rope around his neck and his feet above the executioners, "I'm not afraid to die because I know I am dying as an Assyrian and I did not deny my nation. But just know that as you are right now, you will forever be beneath our feet." Along with all of our Assyrian martyrs, they are true heroes. Their words have stuck with me, as I believe they should stick with all of you, especially during this time. Yabne Atur, Yabne Shraya, Qamodi Wakhlakha Klaya, Ket O Diklet Bdimma Swaya, Ar'at Ninwe Sahdim Laya. We are Assyrians. We are the cradle of civilization. Our ancestors were far ahead of their times. Our kings ruled the greatest empire. Our language is thousands of years old. Our culture has been maintained across the globe. Burbizib dunya arpa penyata inalale witliqa tlitlan marata. Up in Shurshiyat ya brunat umta maram la atat ayim man ramta. We now face a crisis with the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, known as ISIS. Before ISIS, it was Saddam and his Ba'ath regime. And before them, there was Simco, and there was Simele, and so on and so forth. لا مريد الريالان En yomanet semele. La basa khisho darde ahapundan muchmele. It seems as though we have had our backs against the wall for quite some time now. It has hit an ultimate desperation for our nation, as I have received word from Iraq that ISIS has taken over the Nineveh Plains, the one area where a majority of Assyrians call home, the one land that we have been urgently pushing to gain authority over. And here we are, on August 7th, 2014, with the Nineveh Plains being emptied of all Assyrians. And ironically, on this day in 1933, we faced the sword, and Semele had been emptied of all of our Assyrians. Bnei Umti, the time has come for us to say, enough is enough. Zone demane zilon enatan, idyo bishmatach qodem idatan, بقيرة شقبنة بنونا أمبناتا بلاشة خيروتا شرية رمياتا. I must say, if there's ever a time for a revolution within our nation, if there's ever a time for our youth in diaspora to come forward and embrace their nationality and fight for their future, the time is now. I am very proud of every single one of you for joining us here today. I've spoken at several Martyrs' Day events in the past few years, but this is the first time where I truly see youth involvement and I truly see unity. We must remember that we are one nation, and working as a united nation is our only hope. When our brothers and sisters are being massacred in Iraq and Syria, they do not care what church they belong to. They don't care if they are Barwar, Tiari, Jilu, or Urmi. They don't separate them by villages. They don't line them up based on where they pray on Sunday morning. They don't care about any of that. All they see is an Assyrian, somebody who is not like them, a group that will stop their advancement. Our children are dying of thirst while trying to flee from village to village. Our women are running in fear of being taken captive. Our men feel helpless and hopeless trying to save their families while trying to save our land. They are bombing our churches that are over 2,000 years old. They are destroying our artifacts from over 4,000 years ago. They have cleared out all of the Assyrians from our ancient city of Nineveh, and now they have cleared out all the Assyrians from our Nineveh plains. I went back earlier today to look at some photos from my trip to Beit Nahran in 2010. I came across photos of myself at Darat Rabbin Hormis in Al-Qush in Dashtat Nineveh, the Nineveh Plains. That monastery dates back to 640 AD, and I received word from friends that are in Al-Qush that they have fled the area. The mere thought of them doing anything to Darat Rabbin Hormis is breaking my heart. We cannot allow them to continue. We cannot allow for the blood of our martyrs to be washed away. دمت سهدا لازل هابس هل قطاني صدري ناپس. Our martyrs sacrificed for us. They fought for this nation. They stood their grounds in Beit Nahran. We will never end the movement that they have started. أخنن إيوخ آتوراية مارت ننوى أنقاماية. Now is the time to show the world who Assyrians are. Show that we can work together. Prove that we will not be forgotten. Our history will not be erased. They will not silence us. Our language will not die, and we will regain our lands. Kha'umta, Khanisha, Ushimma. خالي شانا وخادمة خا تشعيتا لا تلقنتا خابت نهر خايمة. For every man who stood in the face of our enemies, for every woman whose final prayer was her final breath, for every child who wasn't given a chance to fulfill their destiny, for every Assyrian that lived as an Assyrian and died as an Assyrian. We will fight for them. I must leave you all with another favorite quote of mine that I always share on Martyr's Day by Dr. David Perley. I am an Assyrian, and as an Assyrian, I am obligated to be actively interested in the destiny of the Assyrians. Once the greatest nation, now almost forgotten, I would be an arch criminal if I failed to assume this obligation. It is our duty to assume this obligation. If you've ever wondered what your purpose is on this earth, if you've ever have any sense of nationalism, if you have the blood of our ancestors running through your veins, we must all assume this obligation for ourselves, for our nation, for our children, for our future, and most importantly, for our martyrs. Shukha wa ramrama istahdat umtan.